Good afternoon, everyone. We shall begin our program in a few minutes. We would like to request those who are standing to please take your seats so that we can begin our program shortly. Thank you.
Yeah.
afternoon once again. We invite the members of the audience to please take your seats so we can begin our program. Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and DFA officers and personnel. And to our viewers from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, as we are streaming live via the Department of Foreign Affairs Facebook page and YouTube channel. Please rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem. Please be seated. Thank you. This afternoon, we launched the video documentary, Wisdom Keepers of the Earth. It's produced by the Department of Foreign Affairs, Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy, in partnership with the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples and Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts Incorporated. Today, we also launch the book of ethnomusicologist Dr. Grace Nono, entitled Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender and Place. National Literature Month, Earth Day, and Araw ng Kagitingan, or Day of Valor, are all celebrated in April, a historically, culturally, and globally significant month. We commemorate these three events that complement each other and reflect the Filipino narrative in an integrated celebration with a global perspective. To welcome our distinguished guests and members of the Diplomatic Corps, may we call on the Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy's Deputy Assistant Secretary and Executive Director, Mr. Gonaranaw B. Musor.
Thank you, Emmy. Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Antonio Morales, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of the video documentary Wisdom Keepers of the Earth and the book Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shaman and Voice, Gender and Place by Dr. Grace Nono, which is organized by the DFA-Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy in partnership with the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples and the Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts Incorporated. The video documentary Wisdom Keepers of the Earth aims to highlight the commonalities that the Philippines shares with other countries in terms of indigenous or traditional healing rituals. In this video documentary, we featured international shamans from South Korea, Kenya, Mexico, and Malaysia. For this, we wish to thank the Philippine Embassy in Seoul, led by Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega, and the Philippine Embassy in Pretoria, led by Her Excellency Ambassador Noraline Jubaira Baha, for assisting OPCD in connecting with the international shamans in the respective areas of jurisdiction. Meanwhile, the book Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shaman and Voice, Gender and Place, written by ethnomusicologist Dr. Grace Nono, effectively captures the voices of the Babaylan, her gift to our IP communities that is also meant to be shared with the rest of the world. You probably know Dr. Grace Nono in her previous incarnation as a multi-awarded alternative recording artist who successfully fused pop, traditional, and folk music. We thank her and the rest of her team from the Tao Foundation for the creative guidance in realizing this project, despite the time limitations and many other hurdles we had to face. We also would like to thank the NCIP for their support and for shepherding us through the process of accessing our indigenous communities. We hope that this will be followed by many more collaborations in line with our cultural diplomacy thrust that aim to showcase the rich diversity of our indigenous peoples in a sensitive manner. We are also very much honored this afternoon by the presence of some of the members of the Diplomatic Corps as we simultaneously commemorate three significant events during this launch: Natural Literature Month, Araw ng Kagitingan or the Day of Valor, and Earth Day. Our wisdom keepers serve as invaluable repositories of our narratives as oral literature, are linked to the many hidden wonders and mysticism of Mother Earth, and symbol of heroism for their unwavering commitment to protecting and preserving our indigenous traditions and beliefs amidst the encroaching influence of modernization. As diplomats, you can take us out of our country several times, but you can never really take away from us our indigenous beliefs amidst the modernity and foreign influences. I remember during my stint in Kuala Lumpur, I had the challenge of finding a traditional healer just to appease my late mother, who earnestly believed that traditional healing could complement or maybe even be more effective than the mainstream medicine given by her Malaysian doctor. Of course, we were not in Mindanao. Fortunately, our Maranao traditional beliefs were very much similar to Malaysia's, a combination of indigenous, pre-colonial, and Islamic beliefs. On behalf of OPCD and our partners, NCIP and Tao Foundation, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you enjoyed the preview of the documentary and the book. We look forward to your continued support once we upload the documentary in its entirety on our social media platforms. Again, thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you, Deputy Assistant Secretary Gonarano Mustor, for the warm welcome and for sharing a brief perspective of today's event and its significance. This afternoon, we highlight the oral narratives of our indigenous peoples to increase more awareness about the significance of our three events in April that will help promote respect and recognition for the living ancestral traditions of the indigenous peoples and local communities. At this point, we are deeply honored to have with us this afternoon to give a key message the Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Undersecretary Antonio A. Morales.
Thank you very much, Ms. M. Thank you very much, Deputy Assistant Secretary and Executive Director Gonar Musor, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues from the Department of Foreign Affairs, and other government agencies who are present with us this afternoon. friends, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much for joining us in this important activity. As pointed out, today we commemorate three significant events. First, just to emphasize, the National Literature Month that was declared by virtue of Proclamation number 968 signed in February 2015. And as pointed out, the video we are about to launch this afternoon, entitled Wisdom Keepers of the Earth, and produced by the Department of Foreign Affairs Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy in partnership with the Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts Incorporated and the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, epitomizes this year's theme of the National Literature Month, which is Muling Pagtuklas ng Karunungang Bayan. Loosely translated, it means rediscovering folklores, epics, riddles. Experts define Karunungan Bayan as a branch of Philippine literature that provides an avenue to convey the ideology and the psyche embedded in the culture of every group. Previously used as a form of expression of entertainment, they have now become a means by which the legacy of our ancestors are passed on to the next generation. The oral narratives of the Babaylan or shamans who practice traditional forms of healing, as in many cultures, connect us with our nature and with our past. A past that shaped and defined our identity as Filipinos. It is only fitting that we revisit the pre-colonial legacy of the Babaylans or shamans, and many of whom have been living repositories of oral narratives through songs, chants, folk tales, and epics. We recognize and honor the legacy of these Filipino wisdom keepers who are unknown to most people for their valuable contribution to Philippine arts, traditions, culture, and heritage. We are also deeply honored to have with us in the video documentary, as already pointed out, international shamans who share insights on the importance of traditional healing and interconnectedness with nature. The second important significant event we commemorate is Earth Day in April, which began in 2016 when the Paris Agreement was opened for signature with a ceremony in New York. The commemoration of Earth Day is to honor the Babaylans or shamans whom we consider as stewards of the earth. They help us understand and increase our awareness on how we can protect our environment. This year's theme, Invest in Our Planet, again correlates to the Wisdom Keepers of the Earth video documentary. Third, every April 9, as some of you may know, the country commemorates Araw ng Kagitingan or Day of Valor. And this year's theme, Kagitingan ng mga veterano, inspirasyon na nagkaisang Pilipino, is a reminder to reflect on the bravery that was required of us during the past 2 years as we faced so many challenges in the world and continue to do so, and particularly how we fought together and united against the global pandemic that immobilized the world. It was a realization that opened our eyes to the importance of nature, of every individual, and how music and the arts kept us resilient amidst these difficult times. Finally, I wish to congratulate the Department of Foreign Affairs Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy in partnership with the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples and the Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts, headed by ethnomusicologist Dr. Grace Nono, who was talked about by Deputy Assistant Secretary Musor. Her book, Babaylans, Sing Back Philippine Shamans and Boys, Gender and Place, published by Cornell University, will be featured and launched today. Once again, I wish to thank you for your presence and for your interest in participating in these three very significant events. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you, Undersecretary Morales, for that inspiring message that indeed will help us to keep the faith alive in strengthening our Filipino spirit and continuing to be proud of our Filipino roots and legacy. So the moment has come for us to watch and revisit the legacy of the Babaylans and our pre-colonial ancestors, the living repositories of our oral narratives through songs, chants, and poetry. What we are about to view is the 5-minute preview of the full-length video documentary. This may also be viewed on the DFA Facebook page and the DFA YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, we present to you the wisdom keepers of the earth.
Mahibuon naman siya nga baylan kay pag kadlawon ba early daw mga 4 o'clock nagsugod na siya chanting nga na namog sala ga prayer si ana sa pagsaka sa adlaw iban na dito iyang mga pag-ampo sa tibok adlaw na successful ang tanan niya nga mga trabaho.
Mga material mananggawan alang kagita. Dunggutan imo sen i-waste para mabuligan na kagita wagas tagbaya.
Oh nang gulan wa nang amagu sini cầm đồ isalugu
ang nungari isa-isa sa ilaha naa sila'y mga misyon nagihatag sa mga kinaiyahan sa ilaha.
Bao đưa nung đơn ye phu nát lon me nát tư vi lư mi gon tư da ba wa phu lo ni ka ma ni unang chi ba ni tu ba ni irani wa kru yu nun tugun man ko ang kumlao man go na kat sa tuwa nun siguro palo tando ko Magahinay rin kamu sa dalan nagapanglakat rin nagapanakayan Tudiin kabranggayan, kabanwahanan, siyudad, Iloilo ang ginalagaw-lagawan, Kasi ang ginadangkan, daktod sa kadagatan, kunyara ginasundan sa ibang nasyon, ginakadtuan. Dawaton namon ang kaanakan, dawaton namon ang mga ginikanan. Sa mga kalag na tanan sa espiritu ginapaagyan, hangin nga mapintas ginagyan, hangin nga mapintas ginsaywan.
The subli is so important because it brings us to an understanding of cosmos, of our cosmic presence. And so I think that is quite important to remember for all of us that still have the joy of watching, of performing, of taking part in this devotion that has existed for centuries, and hope that it survives and that it prevails in the future.
Malaki rin ang ginagampanan ng subli sa kalikasan. Nakita daw ng maraming tao na ang mahal na puong Santa Cruz nasa ibabaw ng bulkan Taal na pinaniniwalaan siya ang nagprotekta sa mga buhay at ari-arian ng mga tao.
I grew up in a small village where everybody practiced baki. Tira yata. Whoa! Sira. And his lagitan. Bring back the respect and honor of the many, many Mumbakis who had been doing their work. So how does one become a Mumbaki?
Wisdom Keepers of the Earth is a project of the Department of Foreign Affairs Public and Cultural Diplomacy Office in cooperation with the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples and the Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts. I am Dr. Grace Nono, your host and producer for Wisdom Keepers of the Earth.
That was indeed a powerful, substantive, and magical glimpse of the oral narratives of the Babaylans and international shamans. Certainly, we felt the magical healing powers of the earth, and through the chants, we must have felt that strong connection. I must say that we cannot wait to watch the full video documentary and appreciate how traditions can be preserved and remain intact amidst modernization. I would also like to inform everyone that you may watch that preview on the DFA YouTube channel and DFA Facebook page. And the full video documentary will also be available after the event. Thank you. And now, as we move to the next part of our program, let me share with you a brief story that connects the book that we're about to launch. And you will see the photo of the book on the screen shortly. In March 2019, the DFA Ladies Foundation sponsored a film showing and a talk with Babaylans. That talk is now part of Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender and Place, a book written by ethnomusicologist Dr. Grace Nono. And now let us watch some videos to introduce the book to you.
My name is Sarah Grossman. I am the editor of the Southeast Asia Program Publications imprint at Cornell University Press, and I'm delighted to have had the privilege of working with Grace Nono on her monograph, Babaylans Singbak, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender, and Place. With this study, Dr. Nono has brought to surface the voices of living contemporary Babaylan, the ritual specialists variously described in scholarly and academic literatures as either practitioners whose livelihoods were destroyed centuries ago by colonialism, or as living but peripheral or insignificant spirit workers. Neither of these descriptions is correct. Rather, there is a vibrant and vital transnational culture of Babaylan working, singing, and living today. And if you want to learn more, I invite you to read Grace Nono's extraordinary ethnographic work. Thank you.
And this kind of topic requires quality work, rigor in discipline. And that's why it took a long time. I mean, Grace is honest enough to reveal to the reader how many years practically she's worked on it since she was a baby, no? I mean, the range of the experiences she has all over the world. And that's why it really is a product of scholarship. The other thing also that makes me very happy about this is, and this has been one of my advocacies, that's why I write reviews, no, for Mindanews, because I really feel as somebody from Mindanao, we need to show the rest of the Philippines that there's so much we have across Mindanao, that there are authors, there are researchers, there are writers, there are songwriters, there are artists here that can be at par with the rest of the best in the Philippines. No? So I take pride that she's from Agusan. And of course, from Agusan to the rest of the world, no? That's the range of Grace Rich in regard to this book. If somebody, I don't know if you can do it yourself, you have the time. Even if summaries of this can be translated to the main languages so that it's also accessible, because English will always be limited to those in the academic world. You know? It doesn't have to be translated everything, but some kind of a summary that is of practical value and practical use. And do continue your research. You're still very young, no? You still have many years to go. It seems like you are committed to this for a lifetime. You are the, how do you call it, the pioneer, and right now you are our best resource in this particular field. So good luck to whatever it is that is still in your heart and in your mind. Congratulations.
I finally met Grace at Anvil in 2008 when we published her award-winning book called The Shared Voice, Chanted and Spoken Narratives from the Philippines. It is the distillation of her over 15 years of continuing interaction with Filipino oralists and their oral traditions. Babaylans Singbak. What a powerful title. This book says it all. How, as a casualty of colonialism, for over 400 years, the voice, the literal physical voice of the natives, heard us backward, mere superstition and babble. The ethnographies here, impressive in their depth and detail, give us sharp and lingering pictures of the contemporary lives of a number of native Philippine ritual specialists in Mindanao and Luzon. Equally captivating, Grace Nono's fascination with the embodied voices and sonic sensibilities of our Babaylan. She studies their voices, attentiveness, and healing, both at the level of the individual and personal, and at the community socio-political level of their indigenous rights to self-determination. This double perspective vests her account with extraordinary truth and empathy. Congratulations, Grace.
Hello, my name is Andy McGraw. I'm an associate professor and chair of music at the University of Richmond in Virginia. I've enjoyed reading Grace Nono's most recent book, Babaylans Sing Back, which is an outstanding analysis of the complex and ethically ambiguous nexus of decolonialism, gender, class, and academia. These are complex topics presented in a readable text, accessible to those outside academia. It's also an honest investigation of the sometimes fraught tensions between urban middle-class newcomers to the tradition and rural practitioners. Drawing on Bell Hook's concept of talking back, Nono's frame of singing back gets right to the native agency that contests hegemonic discourse about ritual specialists. But singing back captures more than discourse. It describes the way in which modern-day Babaylan transform their world. As a music professor, ethnomusicologist, and Indonesianist, Babaylans Sing Back will be a welcome addition to several of my courses and to my own research, both for the new information it presents and as a model for ethnographic methods. Finally, I want to congratulate Grace and her collaborators on an excellent and timely contribution to contemporary scholarship.
Of which, with gratitude, I offered my comments having read it, and so here they are. I'm inspired by this book, Babaylans Sing Back, to really invite all to take heart in Pope Francis's 2020 Post-Synodal Apostolic Exhortation entitled Querida Amazonia, My Beloved Amazonia, written in response to the Synod of Bishops for the Pan-Amazon Synod held in Rome in October 2019, with a special focus on the Amazonian region of South America. And that, I think, is an exhortation for people of goodwill and believers of all faiths and people of goodwill at that too. For me, this is the first time in the history of the Church and world history that the Pope in the Catholic Church, Pope Francis himself, has elevated the beliefs in the Creator and the various nature and assessed spirits as what he called various beings in Querida's Amazonia #42, with reference to the spirit world, of course, thus acknowledging these various beings or spirits as integral to indigenous mysticism in Querida Amazonia #73. So there is this deeper sense of mysticism in indigenous mysticism and ancestral wisdom. This, of course, is really the richness of indigenous spirituality, or in Pope Francis' word, indigenous mysticism, they make possible buen vivir, or good living, in number 8, 26, and 71, between ourselves as humankind, other kinds, and of course, the entire planet, which is our common home, the Earth. So thank you very much, Grace and Nono, for really putting out this publication, Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shamans, Voice, Gender, and Place. And I hope that all these insights, which has become what we call theoretical constructs, be really filtered up and also take their places in our discursive landscape, so that really we do need to challenge those colonists and neo-colonists scholarship that continue to erase and mute and exclude, even erase these voices and these songs from the different parts of the world. And therefore, for me, is to this effort of yours is really to let the 100 flowers bloom in our common home. Thank you.
I am Erlinda Natokyat, born and raised in Balatok, Itogon, Benguet. I belong to the ethno-linguistic group of the Kachakran in Barlig Mountain Province. I grew up imbibing the Kachakran wisdom through participation in the chuyas, the wedding celebrations, the sunga, a healing ritual conducted by a shaman called Munfinig, the regular apapoys, where the young and older people come together at night to share stories and events about people and the community And of course, the Kanyao ritual that involves animal sacrifice, feasting, and dancing. Grace Nono's book, Babaylans Singbak, is relevant in our present time. Yes, the Babaylans have not disappeared. The blood of the Babaylans run in the DNA, the bloodline of their lineages. It is no surprise a Babaylan novice like Robilin, as well as others, including myself, are emerging to reclaim our roots and grow in our sacred space to bring back healing and harmony in our families, communities, and beloved country, the Philippines. If only the community at large, the mainstream media, as well as the religious faiths stop labeling us devil's advocates and other demeaning descriptions. I believe Babaylans have a sacred role to play in bringing about peace, harmony, and sustainable or more regenerative development in our families and communities. We need these present-day Babaylans who may not appear as our Babaylans of long ago, but have the Babaylan spirit that is invigorated by the spirit of someone higher than themselves, whom they acknowledge as God, Supreme Being, Creator, as they work for the common good of all life and all life forms.
Grace Nono's third book, Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender, and Place, demonstrates a very rare mixture of scholarly artistry and human artistry. The materials her brilliant scholarship presents and analyzes, which are powerful enough that they can really benefit future generations, exist because she had the determination to seek out elder culture bearers and shamans who were known only by their local communities. For this reason, ways of living are revealed in the pages of her book, not just the kind of information detached scholarly questioning can observe and detail. Nono mobilizes the descriptive precision and unidealizing attention of a formidable scholar. Grace Nono's book about a profound tradition of Philippine shamanism is an archive of what must not perish and a song of hope that cannot arise without a respectful collaboration with carriers of living traditions. This book provides not only important information, but also provides a window into the superlative ranges of the human heart and the opportunity for reciprocal learning between the Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, and between the third, fourth, and first worlds, which now must occupy one world. After the hierarchy is disrupted and the wisdom of native peoples is shown to be crucial for the survival of the whole world.
Grace's works and the works of these people serve as a model for present and future documentaries on Indigenous culture, whether it be CDs, books, films, lectures, presentations, videos. The cinematic work has created an insight into the culture that most films don't. It's given you a direct path to the heart of the culture. The film and book, Wisdom Keepers of the Earth and Songs of the Babaylan, she has given us a gift. It's a gift of, from, by, for, in honor of the people of the Philippines. Her humility, her artistry, her brilliance rings through every moment of the film and every page of the book. Her work shows her dedication, her commitment, and her love of the peoples of the Philippines and by extension the world. She has helped us to see, she has taught us in these works what it means to be fully human through the voices, the acts, the music, the dance, the song, the ritual. The people of the Philippines, with each other, the natural world, the stars, the ancestors, the spirit world, the creator, and ourselves. So there may be a time in her vision where yet again we will be whole as we awaken together in the evening's midnight sun.
Babaylans Sing Back depicts the embodied voices of native Philippine ritual specialists, popularly known as Babaylans. These ritual specialists are widely believed to have perished during colonial times or to survive in the margins in the present day. They are either persecuted as witches and purveyors of superstition or valorized as symbols of gender equality and anti-colonial resistance. Drawing on field work in the Philippines and in the Philippine diaspora, Dr. Grace Nono's deep engagement with the song and speech of a number of living ritual specialists demonstrates Native historical agency in the quincentennial anniversary of the contact between the peoples of the islands of the Philippines and the European colonizers. We aim to connect the Philippines with other countries that have similar indigenous traditions, particularly as ritual and healing practice. This afternoon, we are deeply honored to be joined by none other than the author herself, as she reads an excerpt from her book, Babaylans Sing Back, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender and Place, published by the Cornell University Press. Dr. Nono is known for her traditional music and hails from Bunawan, Agusan del Sur, home to the Indigenous Peoples of Manobo. A graduate of the Philippine High School for the Arts, she finished her bachelor's and master's degree from the University of the Philippines and her doctoral studies in ethnomusicology at New York University. She received her second master's degree in religious and gender studies in 2019 from Yale University. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you ethnomusicologist, cultural worker, artist, and scholar, Dr. Grace Nono. A round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen,
Good afternoon. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I am Grace Nono, born and raised in Agusan del Sur to a Kagitingan mother and an Ilocano father. So I'm a daughter of two different ethno-linguistic groups. I am very happy to be here with you today in the middle of the continuing pandemic and many other challenges in our world. And yet we are blessed to still be able to continue with our missions to offer something that is hopefully valuable to our world. I would like to just to kind of frame Wisdom Keepers of the Earth and Babaylans Sing Back as siblings. I see them as siblings. Wisdom Keepers of the Earth is more visceral. You know, you see, you hear, you feel. While the book, Babaylans Sing Back, is more cerebral, more analytical. So both are siblings, but they both draw from the same wellspring of wisdom that we hope will become more strengthened as humanity tries to overcome its challenges, especially with the environment. So I would like to read from page 14 of the book. This takes us to over 3 decades ago. It is 1989. I am in the mountains of the boundary of Agusan del Sur, Davao del Norte, and Bukidnon. Fresh out of college, where I read books about the Babaylans' demise, I am having an unexpected encounter with a living native ritual specialist referred to by the Ata as Blaan. Keeping my bewilderment to myself, I come face to face with Lako, a tall, slender man with deep voice and dark eyes, his countenance more recessed than that of the convivial datu or chief, who warmly welcomes a group of literacy teachers that I am traveling with. An hour or so later, my companions and I head downhill to the next village where we will be spending the evening. I, who until then have heard only Western and Westernized songs from school, church, radio, and television, listen for the first time to an oral chant by a mother named Baunsui, whose lilting voice moves me deeply. Traveling back to the lowlands, I feel inspired, but also confused. Why have voices like Lakos and Baunsuis been hidden from my generation and perhaps from generations past? What conspiracy is it that has been suppressing such voices from rising to our ears? I will spend the next decades finding ways to further listen to the voices of ritual specialists, many of whom are oral singers. Okay, just a short excerpt again from page 2. This book foregrounds the voices of a number of ritual specialists whose voices represent important aspects of native epistemology, historical agency, and authority. When the European colonizers arrived in the 16th century, they observed voice to be an important tool of cultural reinforcement in the lives of indigenous peoples. They wasted no time in transforming this voice into a site of colonial control. Considered savage, the native voice was disciplined, softened, sweetened, and diminished in value when compared to writing which the colonizers claimed possessed greater legitimacy. In the hands of the colonizers and local elites, written discourses about native ritual specialists proliferated in ways that did not necessarily give the latter voice. In more recent times, the term voice was reclaimed by feminists as a metaphor for textual authority, power, agency, autonomy, and expressive freedom, a welcome development to many. When the metaphor became too pervasive, however, some contended that this led to the repression of voices' physicality, and I might add, of people who have primarily operated from the spoken and/or sung word. But while some written discourses have tended to silence certain groups, oral discourses among the subjugated have been noted to stimulate creative responses against the forces of domination. In her book, Talking Back, activist scholar Bell Hooks provided a frame of reference for speaking as an equal to an authority figure. Babaylans Sing Back draws from Hooks, replacing talk with sing to signal many of the native Philippine ritualists' roles as oral singers and speakers, and to index their often undifferentiated acts of singing and speaking. That would be my reading for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nono, for that. Thank you again, Dr. Nono, for that compelling reading and rendition of your book. So we were transported for a moment in that scene in 1989, in which you were moving from the highlands to the lowlands and thinking of all these things which led you to write this book. And also, based from her reading, she showed us how powerful the native voice is and how the colonizers, tried to suppress it. But that's why through that book, this voice is again booming. Okay, so at this point, we would like to call on our Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Undersecretary Antonio A. Morales, and to be assisted by Deputy Assistant Secretary Ganarana Musor, and also Acting Director Christina Popov, to give the certificate of appreciation to Dr. Grace Nono. So I would like to read. This certificate of appreciation is given to Dr. Grace S. Nono, the president and founder of the Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts Incorporated. For Tao Foundation for Culture and Arts Incorporated's partnership with the Department of Foreign Affairs in producing the Wisdom Keepers of the Earth video documentary, given this 26th day of April 2022 at the Department of Foreign Affairs, Rojas Boulevard, Pasay City, Philippines. Signed, Eduardo Martin R. Meñez, Assistant Secretary of the Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy, Department of Foreign Affairs, Republic of the Philippines. Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Grace S. Nono. And thank you to Undersecretary Antonio A. Morales, Deputy Assistant Secretary Gonarana Musor, and Acting Director Christina Popov. And you may now go back to your seats. Thank you. And at this part, we are closing our program. On behalf of the Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy, we express our sincere thank you to the members of the Diplomatic Corps and our distinguished guests for gracing this significant event with us. Thank you as well to our distinguished guests from our foreign service posts from all over the world who are joining us virtually. Thank you too to our kababayans and our guests abroad who have joined us in the celebration via the Department of Foreign Affairs YouTube channel and Facebook page. We also would like to inform you that you may view the whole video documentary on the Department of Foreign Affairs official YouTube channel and Facebook page. At this juncture, we are now inviting the members of the Diplomatic Corps and distinguished guests to proceed to the reception area. Thank you, everyone, and a pleasant good afternoon.